Take two. Hello everyone and welcome to my video review on Nosferatu, the 1922 film, which is now 100 years old. So let's celebrate. Turned 5 days ago as of this recording. So basically, it's meant to be the original Dracula film. The director actually thought that Nosferatu was Romanian for Dracula. He was wrong, but what you gonna do? So, interesting concept here. Basically, guy buys house, fucking vampire living in it, coffin, salt of the earth. It's all about vampire mythology and Nosferatu, made in a very socio-political time in Germany. It follows the German expressionism artistic movement rather, and it's just a masterclass in early cinema. Now, special effects obviously aren't going to hold up as much today, but they are fucking fantastic for the time, and you've really got to appreciate that. You know, I really appreciate Max's performance here. He was able to, in early cinema, capture basically everything that makes a creepy horror character. We've seen his influence in the likes of Frankenstein in the future, and, you know, zombies, the way they move. And let's just get right into the cinematography. It is shot beautifully. The absence of colour really works in this film's favour. This was made before The Jazz Singer, so obviously it's a silent film, 1922, and that also works. Soundtrack, it's a Blu-ray release, not the original soundtrack, I am made to understand, but still a good soundtrack nevertheless. I don't know what the original's like, it's probably better, but this is what I had to work with, okay? This film was almost lost due to a lawsuit, but luckily it wasn't. A lot of the director's films have been lost in history, but, well, not a lot, a few, but most of his films remain, thankfully. This is the first one of his films I have seen. Now, cinematography is, I mainly just want to talk not so much about the shots, they're good, but they're okay. The main thing I want to talk about is the use of lighting and the use of shadows, and the contrast between dark and light is really masterfully done. I think that it is the best element of this cinematic experience that makes it hold up to this day in a certain sense. Some films aren't holding up that well today. I'll watch them anyway, but this one definitely does, and it is all due to the shadow effects, the way that he just moves so creepily in the shadows. You don't know what's lurking in the dark. The director was born in the Victorian era. At this time in history, they were absolutely fucking obsessed with the occult, and you can see that reflected in this film due to the fact that, the title cards obviously convey the story, but they also ask the viewer, these questions about vampires, they ask them. And at this time, I suppose that Hutter, that the vampire, everything in this film is basically a warning that you never know what lurks in the shadows. And that is because in this time, I feel like a lot of people still believed in vampires, a lot of people still believed in the occult. Not saying they don't now, but it was certainly a lot more common in the time. Now, one thing I would like to state, and is a really interesting fact about this film, is that the mummified bodies are real. They aren't fake. These are actual mummified corpses, and I just think that's a pretty interesting fact. Now, in light of all of this, I still feel like the 5-act structure was maybe a bit stupid. You don't need, well, like, I'm not saying the way that they structured it was stupid. I'm saying that the fact that they need to state end of Act 1, end of Act 2, end of Act 3, 4, 5. It kind of took away from the film, in my opinion. I'm just sitting there, I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it, and then it's end of Act 1. Okay, maybe it's a 3-act structure. No, it's 5. So you just gotta fucking throw me under the bus like that and leave me isolated because every time that you see end of Act 1, end of Act 2, you're ruining it for me. I just want to watch the film. You know, I don't see this shit in other films of the era, so why is it need to be in this one? I don't get that. If they want to go 5-act structure, that is entirely fine, but don't just bloody tell me that at the end of the act and the end of the act. Wouldn't be bad if it was like a 3-hour film, but this film is barely an hour and a half, and they feel the need to have 5 acts. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes. You're not even. That's not even like an act every 20 minutes. You know, just don't do that. Please don't do that in your film. Not that you can hear me. He's dead, and the director's head was stolen from his grave, which is kind of creepy and something that would be out of one of his films, but I just thought it was an interesting fact. I feel like the reason I do these videos is because, well, I love cinema, and I just want to express my own opinion on films around that era, what I personally seen upon my watch and things, and it gets me to think about the film myself, you know? So, yep, this is a very interesting early German film, but with some issues that certainly don't push it to perfection for me. Now, one thing I would like to say is that if you're watching this, expect that despite the fact that this was filmed on 35mm film, just like Spielberg is, just like all that, it's been damaged through, you know, handle and care of 100 years. Now, I don't blame the film for that. I don't blame the director for that. That's not. I'm just stating a fact, is that some of this film is damaged and cuts at certain parts. You can expect that with films of this era. But, nevertheless, I enjoyed it. 7 out of 10, or 3.5 stars. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in my future reviews. Goodbye.